We talking about the greatest Pittsburgh Steelers draft picks of all times. Top 5 greatest draft picks of all time for the Pittsburgh Steelers, more importantly, because the NFL draft takes off tomorrow, man. We're going to be seeing if any of these new guys coming in is going to have a chance to potentially be on one of these lists, man, in the future. So that's going to be what we on today. And then obviously, we're going to pull up on TG in a little bit after that. So y'all hit that like button one time. But man, if you ready, I'm ready. You want to list yours first and then I list mine and then we kind of talk back and forth through it? Or do we reveal like how we've done in the past? You do 5, I do my 5. You do your 4, I do my 4. You do your 3, I do my 3, and so forth.
I say we just go all of them.
Let's do it then, man.
How'd you do this?
What you mean how I did it? I did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Did you go off like round value or anything like that?
Man, I just did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The top draft picks that I could think of.
My one doesn't change either way.
We already know that.
My one stays the same.
Listen, the reason why you notice why I have to make the list 5, because I already know if I just simply ask you who's your favorite draft pick, who's the greatest draft pick, who's the most impactful draft pick, who's the best draft pick of any sport all time in the history of sports, your answer is never going to change. So that's why I just expand the list.
First round
you
pick,
see what I mean?
4.
That's why I just expand the list. Come on now, it's just easy. I know how you roll, so I'm like, yeah, I might make it a top 6 next time. Like, all right, cool. Now I see how you got your list. Yeah, but
I mean, it's the truth.
As long as it's your truth, that's all that matters, man. There's nothing wrong with that.
All right, you go.
You want me to go?
Yeah.
Why I gotta go? You did all that talk. I want you to go first. I like when you go first.
All right, fine. I mean, mine's pretty simple then.
Mine is too. I'm with you.
I mean, the round value thing could make things really interesting.
Now, why is that for you?
Oh, because you got guys like Mike Webster picked in the 5th round, AB in the 6th.
So if you're going, because value does matter. Value definitely matters. So put it like this, right? In terms of me, when I was thinking of my list, I took into account the value of where the player was picked. I took into account the height that player got as a player. I also think about hardware. What did they actually accomplish, not just as an individual, but as a team? And then I also think of them in terms of, what's your character like? I need to know that too. And obviously because of a certain individual that is very much in every conversation when you talk about greatest Steelers, we know, so it affected in a lot of that in there. And then it was more so just, do I like this player or do I like that player? Yeah.
Rocky Blyer in the 16th round.
That's kind of crazy.
LC Greenwood in the 10th round. Like, yeah, that's crazy. LC Greenwood's in the Hall of Fame.
I do have a question. If a player was, no, they have to be drafted. So even if it was a 7th round draft and they went undrafted, then technically they don't make the list. You're right. Yeah,
undrafted don't make the list.
Even if he was a 16th round, I can't make the list though, because that is technically a draft pick. So I like that.
Yeah, that was before they cut it off on the 7 rounds.
That definitely is, man. That's funny.
Big Ben 1. I'm gonna go Mean Joe 2.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go Terry 3.
Shout out to Terry.
This is a little bit different than my Mount Rushmore. Big Ben 1, Mean Joe 2, Terry 3. This is where it gets interesting. AB in the 6th round is just unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
Mike Webster in the 5th round is just unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
The reason I got those top 3 locked, I mean, Big Ben, you got the GOAT quarterback. I don't care where you draft him. Same with Terry Bradshaw. You got the guy for the 70s, the guy leading that dynasty. You need a quarterback, too. I mean, he was that dude. And then Mean Joe, he's like the godfather of Steelers football.
Yeah.
So those 3, locks to me. Now it gets interesting with a Troy, a Lambert. Troy in round 1, Lambert was in round 2, Ham in round 2, Mel Blount round 3.
It's a lot of them, bro.
Hines Ward round 3, and then Webster in round 5. Ooh, even Franco.
Mm-hmm.
Even Franco. We got a lesson taught to us whenever he passed, and we got to learn all the history. Like, we didn't even win a playoff game
until he was Franco. Here, man.
Then that started.
Franco
the
did it,
dynasty.
man.
Like,
Franco
matters.
did it.
That absolutely matters, man. So, wow. Okay, if we're not going based off value, I gotta throw in Franco, and then it's between Troy and Lambert. I'll go Lambert. I might put Lambert. Lambert Franco T4.
So you
You
you lost me at the end. So let me hear that
You could-
again.
you could-
So I'm about to say you lost
You
me
could
at
have
the end of
Lambert
that
for
thing.
you could have Franco for. I don't care. They just both make the top 5.
Okay.
That's my list.
All right. I was actually in the middle of trying to create a poll with some names for the people to kind of vote on who they would put in as their greatest draft picks as well. I didn't think you was going to finish talking that quick, though. You kind of caught me off guard, Deke. I wasn't ready, man. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. All right. So I will pause on putting that poll in, you guys, right now. All right. So with that being the case, though, starting at number 5 on my list, I went with Jack Lambert, man. That's why I got his shirt on today. Why? Because he was a heck of a player. Depot, Rookie of the Year, 4-time Super Bowl champ, All-Pro, all of that other highlights, accolades, and stuff like that. But more importantly, man, to me, when I think of Steelers football, when I think of Steelers defense, his face is the first thing that comes to my mind. Yes, we know Joe Green is the guy, and we've all heard that, even, dating back to the Chief. But the face of Jack Lambert, the boogeyman, Dracula, all of the things that we call that, man, for me, that was one of the ones where I'm just like, man, I just love his game. I love the physicality. I love the fact that dudes were actually scared to play against this man. And he was going to puff a port in the middle of kicking your butt out there on the field, which is still just crazy to me. Absolutely crazy. So that's why I have him at number 5. At number 4, this was one of those ones that I feel like, man, of the younger generation, man, he's one of them dudes that really like popped back up and made defense fun, made defense legit, made it cool to be a guy on defense and still be able to get commercials, still be able to get buzz around you. You got the cool nickname Baby Jesus. So I'm talking Troy Polamalu, man. That was the guy I went with at number 4. I just thought that his impact to the game, when you talk about a defense filled with all of this talent out there, and everybody knows the guy with the hair is the best player out there. When you talk about arguably one of the greatest defenders of all time, like, he's in those conversations. Like I said, man, just being one of the first dudes on defense, rocking the head and shoulders commercial, like really getting it going, really having people know who defenders are, man. Because usually that was just a quarterback, wide receiver, running back thing, man. So I thought for Troy, man, he's definitely my guy. So that's why I have him at 4. At number 3, I couldn't appreciate it all the way when he was alive. Obviously, we still appreciated him, but we know once he passed away, just the amount of information, the amount of stories that came out from some of the older people that watched him play, and just hearing the impact of him, man. I know you had Terry Bradshaw on your list, but people also talk about the Franco Harris element and what he brought to this team and what he brought to this offense, and how he also was one of the most important players. Some people will argue that he was the most important guy on those offenses, on those teams back then, man. So that's why I got Franco at number 3. At number 2, Deke was right, man. This guy belongs on any list when you're talking about all-time greats. So Ben Roethlisberger, a.k.a. my teammate, a.k.a. my quarterback. What you mean, wow? He was going to be on my list, man. You know how I feel about 7. I only give you a hard time.
On your Mount Rushmore.
No, because I like to give you a hard time. That's all, man. But on my list, though, man, 7 definitely is up there, man. When you talk about the second wave, right? 7 was the guy. We know the defense matters, and the defense definitely, dominated during those times under Dick LeBeau. But we know what 7 is. We've seen what 7 can do. I've witnessed it on numerous occasions, both in practice and in stadium. And he's just one of those dudes, man, that we can all relate to the Heinz Field era. And we know that that's 7. We know that 7 and Heinz is synonymous. When you see him out there, man, we knew what it was going to be. So that's why for me, I had to have him at number 2. And at number 1, we all know it's Mean Joe Green, baby. When the boss man say this is what a Steeler is, how do you knock that? I mean, we know in terms of the statistics, once he joined the team, not the first year, but shortly after that, we started to win a ton. Super Bowls. When you talk about Mean Joe Green, is the only dude I know could punch somebody in the nuts, stump on somebody, and then have a Coca-Cola commercial and be looked at as a good guy. It's the craziest thing, but that's because of how dominant of a player he is, or he was, excuse me for that. But ultimately, for me, that's why I have Mean Joe as my number one greatest Steelers draft pick of all time. So, quick recap of my list. At number 5, I had Jack Lambert. At number 4, I went with Troy Polamalu. At 3, Franco Harris. 2, Big Ben. And number 1, I had Joe Green. And if you could, real quick, recap yours 5-1 as well.
Yeah, I got T4 with Lambert and Franco. Again, don't care who's 4, don't care who's 5. They're in the top 5. And then Bradshaw at 3, Mean Joe at 2, Big Ben at 1. So I guess the only difference between our two was I have Terry, you have Troy.
Yeah. And I was contemplating Terry, man, because Terry does have the 4 rings, and Terry was the quarterback back then, and we understand also, like you said, man, you got to have a quarterback.
I feel like
it's
with that time period too, the importance of a lot of those 60s. I don't. That was late 60s, I guess, or early 70s. One of them was 69. I think was it. I think Mean Joe was 69, and then it started in the early 70s with all these other picks.
Yeah,
like the importance of that was our team sucked, and then like you had to hit on these guys, and Bradshaw was slated to be our franchise quarterback, and it ended up working out. I think he was the number 1 overall pick. So, yeah, like him, Franco, Mean Joe, Lambert. I mean, you could have Mel Blount and Webster.
Because that's
There's
what
all these other guys.
Mel
Jack Ham.
Mel Blount doesn't even make my list, and I'm like, we know who Mel Blount is. We know what he did individually as a team. Jack Ham. I mean, I got Jack Lambert on my shirt, but we know you can make a case that Jack Ham was better than Jack Lambert. My whole thing was one was just the athlete of the group, one was the bully of the group. I'm not an athlete. I'm a bully when it comes to that part, you know? So that's why I thought more of that lane. But, man, there's so much talent. Hines Ward, Antonio Brown, you know? You talk Stallworth. It's like, man, these are some dudes, man, that have come here, and that doesn't even count for the offensive line guys. Like you talked about with Webster, Pouncey,
in the 5th round,
Faneca. I'm just like, man, we got some dudes, man. We got dudes here.
It's that Steelers legacy, though.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
We man.
Just ooze greatness here.
It is, man. It is. Shout out to Jerome Bettis, though. He's my favorite. How about that? I just wanted to throw that out there.
Minka can't be on this list, huh?
I love Minka as well. He's my favorite. He's my second favorite. Let me think who else makes my list.
James Farrier.
Oh, love me some Potsy. Oh, man, love me him. Yeah. Let me see. James Harris. Oh, yeah. Not drafted. Love James Harris. Love him. Let me see who else came over here.
Did we pick him up first, though?
It don't matter. He wasn't drafted. It's like the Donnie Show rule. Gotta be drafted.
But it counts for a rule of another category.
I don't know what you're talking about. Nope.
Because I think that's where you're getting at.
I think Debo started out in Baltimore. Debo started out in Baltimore, if I remember correctly. Then came to Pittsburgh. Then went to Cincinnati.
It's a gray area then. He was back and forth with a bunch of teams. I don't know who was first, though.
Yeah. Let me think. Who else? What other all-time Steeler great do I love? Let me think.
Anyone know about Harrison in the chat?
We're just gonna assume that he was not in Pittsburgh first. Okay, Joe Hayden. That's one of my favorite. That's one of my favorite corners all the time for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Joe Hayden. Yep, love me some Joe Hayden. Love Joe Hayden.
Interesting list.
Will Allen. You know Will Allen? Oh, love Will Allen. Yep. Oh, that's my type of safety right there, man. You give me Will Allen and Minka Fitzpatrick. Oh yeah. Yep. That'd be my bunch. Yeah. That's a great defense right there. I love that unit. What?
Just reading the comments.
Just saying, man.
Juan Rangel says no mudbloods.
He's saying, why y'all doing that? Don't do that. Don't do that. You heard all the guys I was naming, right? You see, we have something.
Well, I guess it's literally impossible for this list.
Yeah.
For this list that we're doing.
For this list,
because we are talking about the draft and who the Steelers drafted. But if we did another list,
we ain't do that though.
Top 5.
We didn't say that.
Top 5 guys we traded for.
That's different.
Top 5 guys we didn't draft.
There we go. Yeah, I'm just glad that the way that you're wording it is really nice, and we can keep it like that. Okay, we just keep the wording just like that.
Bus might be one.
Yeah, he's got to be up there.
I have to think about that. Minka might have snuck himself into the top 5 already.
For a fact, who would we say has had more impact through a trade?
bust. But
That's what I'm saying.
We got to
If he's
see
won-
Minka's career still play out.
Yeah, he got to get some hardware.
And then in terms of free agency, I don't know why Ferrier keeps popping up in my head.
And in fact, Ryan Clark. I love me some Ryan Clark.
Yeah,
I love me some Ryan Clark.
that was a good free agent pickup.
Love me some Ryan Clark.
Really was.
Yeah. Who else was drafted here? So what about Larry Foote? He wasn't drafted here, right?
I think he was.
Oh, dang.
He ended up going to he did the AZ trip,
I
and then he
remember
went to
AZ.
Detroit for a minute.
Yeah.